Welcome everyone. I hope you are learning how to unlock the future with AI, brought to you by Akili AI. My name is Justin, and as always, I'm excited to host you each and every week. Today, we are going into a very, very exciting and deeper subject. But before we do that, I want us to watch last week's recap.
And so if you ask an AI the same question 100 times, it may give you one answer 99 times and a different answer 100th time.
Yeah.
In exactly the same way as a business, be it a bank or any other business, the first thing to do is to look at where are your problems, where are the challenges, and where would you get most value if you could go and fix those problems. And then they're the ones that you want to think, okay, can I use AI to go do that? So we very much advocate incremental application of AI because a lot of the challenge that the bank has is not the AI at all. It's about how does the bank reorganize itself in the new world order.
So, as you've heard from last week's episode, I know we will want to hear again from the one and only Simon Bransfield-Garth, who's going to enlighten us more. Now, Simon, I have a question just at the onset. Yes, we've learned about the AI strategy. You spoke about it in the last episode. And as a CEO of a bank, I might be in a catch-22 situation where I really want to implement all those things you've shared with us. But how do I implement something I do not understand?
Yeah, so it's new technology, and banks are not into technology, they're into banking. So we kind of suggest that there is a very clear process that you go through. And the process should be driven from the problems that the bank wants to solve. So we try to divide it into 3 steps. So there's a step called prepare, which is exactly what you think it is.
Yeah.
There's a step called evaluate, which is both evaluating the AI, but also evaluating your readiness of the organization to adopt the AI.
Wow.
And only when you've done those, then you go and do execute and roll it out, at scale. So within that prepare phase, there are really 3 questions that you want to answer. The first question is, are there any gaps in my organization which will stop me adopting AI? So, for example, if your data isn't accessible, it's going to be very difficult to roll out AI.
Yes.
If you haven't thought about where the AI is going to be used, it's going to be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So that's the first step, and often we call that an AI readiness audit, where you kind of look at where you are in terms of the things that you need. And you can compare yourself, you can benchmark yourself against other banks, either in Kenya or in other countries, as to how to go do that.
Yeah.
The next one that's very important is a governance and ethics framework. So we talked a little bit about how AI differs from software.
Yes.
AI pretends to be a human.
Yes.
And so as part of that, there are some ethical considerations that come into play. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have created an AI chatbot as part of your call center, right? Are you going to tell the customer that they're talking to an AI, right? Well, you say no, right? But there are some regulations that say that you must, right? So point being, there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer, but the point is you do need to have thought about it, okay? So that's really what the governance and ethics framework is about, is for each bank to make its own decisions about what it wants to do and how it wants to treat things. Some of those will be regulated by the outside world, but some of those will be choices that the bank can make for itself. And then the third one is what we call opportunity matching, which is there are dozens and dozens of things that AI can do. What you want to do is to choose the ones that are going to be most impactful to the bank right now. So some banks will have a real focus on interacting with social media. Some will have particular operational challenges they want to deal with. Some will want call centers. Some will want compliance help, all the rest of it. And so out of this, 50 or 60 different applications, we recommend that you boil it down to 2 or 3, and you just try it, right? You just build some proof of concept applications. They can normally be done in a few weeks. It's not a really big task. And so not only can you demonstrate that the AI does the job, but you can also see how the organization is going to need to evolve to accommodate that AI. So, yes, you're right. On the face of it, it looks like a confusing process.
Yeah.
But actually, when you break it down into logical steps, it's actually pretty straightforward.
So is there like a recipe? Let me use that word. Is there a recipe we can use, or one institution or organization can use to break it down so that as they move into that world, it's not stressing, they don't feel like it's something that's irrelevant or too much to handle?
Yes. So, different companies will do it in different ways, but they all have the same essential components. And those are broadly the ones that I outlined. So you've got to get the organization in the right place. You've got to get your governance and ethics right, because if you don't put that in place, that's the foundation. If you don't build the foundation right, that's going to cost you further down the road.
That's true.
And then critically important, you don't want to dive into AI for AI's sake, right? The purpose of AI is to solve real business problems. So how do you match those business problems to the organization? That's really this preparation phase. And then very importantly, your first AI application should not be $1 million project, right? There will be some organizations that do that. They decide, right, we're going to dive in and really go with it.
That's true.
We don't recommend that's the right way to go. The right way to go is to build something small, quick, check it out, see how it works. And only when you're really comfortable that it does what you want and you understand how to roll it out, then you can start thinking about scaling it up. So a very sort of bottom-up approach to AI applications.
So let me ask, I'm assuming I'm the CEO of a bank or a financial institution. With the recipe you've given us clearly, will you advise me to go hire or engage an entity that specializes in AI, or do I do it myself from scratch?
Yeah, so I think that depends a lot on the sort of bank you are. So there will be some banks that have huge IT functions internally, and they may choose to do it just all by themselves. But I think for many banks, certainly in the early phases where you're putting in place a governance structure and those sorts of things, then probably the simplest thing to do is just to bring in a consultant to come and help you with that relatively small task to get you off first base, and then sort of progress forward from there. So you can choose either, but I think pragmatically, most banks don't want to become AI experts. They just want to use the AI to do things. So there's value in finding some external assistance to support them with that activity.
Earlier you had mentioned something, readiness audit. Now, how do I go about that? Is it something that I do myself, or is it something that, assuming I've engaged a firm or an entity, do they do that for me, or can I do that myself?
I mean, you can do it by yourself. I mean, of course, you can always, figure out how to do things from first principles. I think for something like that, it makes sense just to adopt a recipe that somebody's already got. So, just in the same way as an audit company will come in and audit your financials, right? You have somebody who comes in, and typically, if I was looking at it, I would measure an organization across maybe 10 different sort of particular parameters. So, for instance, I'd look at the data readiness of the audit of the organization, make sure the data was actually available to the AI to go use. I'd look at things like data privacy. I'd look at sort of cultural and communication issues, those sorts of things. And what you do is to kind of create, those sort of spider diagrams you get, where you kind of create one of those, and you say, right, this is where we are today. This is where we need to be right now. This is where we will need to be in 5 years' time. And so you'll come out of that and say, okay, well, on this thing, we're in good shape. This thing here, we haven't done a great deal, but actually it's not critical right now. It'll become important later on. But actually this one is a gap and we need to do something about it right now. So that's typically how you do the readiness audit. And it becomes the baseline then for other things that go forwards.
I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but I get the sense that once the readiness audit is done, either by an external company or ourselves, the people will be at loggerheads. So you find me as a CEO of this organization, financial company or bank, I'm eager to implement, but everyone else doesn't care. I mean, there's almost a negative, perception about the strategy that you have encouraged us to move into. How would you encourage, or what steps do you think a manager in that point can take, or a board even?
Yeah. Actually, I think it probably goes the other way around. So you do the readiness audit, you do your governance and ethics and so on, and then you look at where you can apply AI in the organization.
Yes.
And what you tend to find is that every department wants to go and do their own AI for their own particular task. And so as a CEO, you have to kind of cherry pick, right?
Yes.
And decide which ones are going to be the first applications. So most organizations, once they see what AI can do and the value that AI can bring, are really keen to adopt it, because all organizations are looking to get competitive advantage in the market.
Yes.
And so by adopting AI, then that helps you down that road.
And what about a company, bank that has adopted the strategy? What, assuming they've, no matter how simple or basic it is, how will you encourage them to take the next step?
I think that tends to happen automatically, right? So what happens is you'll do a particular application. Let's say our first application was we did a chat bot on your website to provide customer care, right? Okay. 6 months later, people are going to say, well, that's great, but you know what? I'd like that over WhatsApp.
Yes.
Or they say, you know what? Actually, I want that to be a voice chatbot. So you phone in and somebody speaks, an AI speaks to you, right? And then somebody says, well, you know what? That's fine in English and Swahili, but actually we'd like it to be in vernacular or whatever it may be. Yeah. So as people see what the AI can do, that becomes the baseline, right? Yeah. And then people will naturally say, well, could it do this? Could it do that? Could it do the other? Yes. And that's really where it's very important to think about this stuff carefully. So we've talked a little bit about consultants coming in. Yes. What's very important is that the bank cannot hand off responsibility for AI to the consultant.
Yes.
Right? The bank still needs to own that responsibility. Yeah. The consultant can assist, but the bank has to own it. And so you start off with a relatively simple AI, which is doing a call center or something. Now imagine that you want your AI call center to be able to tell you what your bank balance is, right? Imagine several years down the road, you want your AI, you want to be able to phone it up and say, Justin, please can you transfer 1,000 shillings from my bank account to Simon's bank account, right? Well, just imagine how the risk profile has changed in that environment, right? Yes. If it's just a call center that's telling you straightforward information, no real risk, right? Once you've got an AI which is working with your back-end systems and providing private information, that's a very different beast. And so the bank, as the complexity of the applications evolves, so the bank will need to evolve its sophistication around governance, ethics, security, data privacy, all of those sorts of things. So this is not a one-step thing. This is a journey that banks do. And we very much take the view, start simple, choose something that adds real economic value today, see the value, and then grow progressively. Don't try and boil the ocean on day one, because that'll be a tough life if you try to do that.
Yes, actually starting small and growing big. And viewers, if you've enjoyed this episode, remember to like, share, subscribe, You can also put in your comments, as I said at the top of the show. Put in your comments. We'll be keen. Simon will be keen to respond to them. And we want to grow together. And I know you've learned so much. Simon, thank you so much for this episode. We keep growing and growing and growing. And I believe in the next one, we're going to get into an even deeper subject. So viewers, until next time, continue to unlock the future with AI, brought to you by Akili AI.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who are passionate about the future of business and technology in Africa. See you next time.